I got a picture sent to me a couple months ago. GE Appliances is one of our customers, and we do a lot of mobile app development for them. And we saw a picture that somebody who we trained in the west part of Louisville, the kind of underserved area, took their whole family to Best Buy after church to show them the washing machine that they worked on the software for. And there's a picture of 40 people at a Best Buy huddled around a washing machine that a Best Buy employee took for them. It was pretty amazing. So that's just a simple anecdote of how I take for granted what we do, but that same person has done tremendous work, that they're able to provide a livable wage and then some for their family, and they're embarking on a tech career that they couldn't otherwise have had.
I'm Patrick J. McGinnis, and I coined the term FOMO. That's short for fear of missing out, and it's why some people end up following the crowd when they should be blazing a trail of their own. But if you want to achieve greatness in business and life, you've got to break free. Come on, I'll show you how. This is FOMO Sapiens, where we explore how entrepreneurial thinkers find the inspiration and the courage to build exceptional lives. Welcome back to FOMO Sapiens, the show for entrepreneurial thinkers. I'm your host, Patrick J. McGinnis, and today we are talking to Ankur Gopal, founder and CEO of Interapt. Driven by the need to develop skilled talent, Ankur created a 6-month paid training program, which has now turned into one of the leading IT apprenticeship models in the United States. And he is the recipient of the EY Entrepreneur of the Year, 40 Under 40, Kentucky Entrepreneur Hall of Fame, Business First, Business of the Year, among other awards. And in 2020, he was selected as an Endeavor Entrepreneur, a global distinction that recognizes and supports the world's highest growth companies. In addition, this is my favorite. This gave me a little FOMO, to be honest. His alma mater, the University of Illinois, honored him as their 2018 commencement speaker. Ankur, welcome to FOMO Sapiens.
Patrick, good to be here. Thank you for the glorious introduction. It always embarrasses me.
The Illinois thing, you probably did it for free. I'd want to get paid for that, but I would, but that's pretty dope.
I got some good swag that day for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, so we're going to get into all of that today. We will start, as usual, with the same question that I ask every guest, and the question is this. Tell me something unexpected you learned about yourself that changed everything.
Wow. I guess, you know this as well, Patrick. Like, being an entrepreneur is pleasure and pain. And I guess I never really realized what my full threshold of pain was when I started this entrepreneurial journey. A lot of people call me resilient. A lot of people call me, my wife would say that I don't see roadblocks. I see ways around them. And that comes with a lot of pain. But I realized that was something I was actually really good at, is seeing where maybe there would be a blockage of sorts and figuring out a clever, unique way around it that many people may not have thought of. So I've been told on more than one occasion that's a bit of my superpower as well. So I'll call that an entrepreneurial muscle that I've been able to develop that I didn't know I had, that just sort of came to be in the necessity of building a company.
You know what I like about that answer? There's it's not romantic. It's very real. And for anybody who's all of the romanticization, if that's a word, of being a founder, you've just gotten super real, because there is pain and it is tiring, and it's not overnight. Now, we have so many things to talk about, but I want to start by highlighting that Interapt was just named one of the most meaningful, 100 most meaningful businesses in the world, which is that's a big deal. What is that about? Why did that happen?
Yeah. So, we get a lot of inbound inquiries about various things. And about 8 months ago, one of our marketing team members forwarded this to me and said, "Hey, did you, we're thinking about, sending this information back. We got nominated for this award." And I said, "I've never heard of this." And I didn't even know that was a thing. And I said, "Why don't you just research it? If it's something, good, go ahead and do it. If it's not, just ignore it. And I kind of didn't hear anything more about it, but he wound up submitting the nomination. And a couple months later, he says, by the way, we will know next week if we get it or not. And I was like, oh yeah, did you apply for that? He goes, oh yeah, I did. It's a really impressive group of people. The folks that are supporting the organization, the United Nations, is involved in that in meaningful business, and they're really trying to find those people who are impacting their communities by building, good, strong, healthy businesses and causes. And he sent me some of the names on it, and I recognized some of them. I was like, oh my gosh, those are great companies. Yeah, I didn't realize it was that prestigious award, and those kind of companies, we're doing it. So long story short, we got the award. We got a lot of good emails and kudos about it. People I know in the business industry saw it, and they congratulated us. So it's a well-known thing, and it's really, I tell you what was really special about it is that, when you if you read the other recipients, they're doing amazing things in Ghana and India and in the Philippines, all over the world. And here we are in Kentucky doing what we do, all over the U.S., of course, but headquartered here. It's a really it's a moment I took a pause on, being a kid from a small town in Kentucky that all of a sudden did something that impactful. So it's an award that I'm really proud our team can celebrate. I always say that my team wins the awards, I just pick them up. So it was a good one to win for sure.
And why? I mean, but that's great.
Yeah.
What did you do? Like, what is meaningful about your business?
What is meaningful? Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad you got the award, but tell me about.
Well, so you mentioned it earlier in the intro, being in Kentucky and being a high-tech company, it's not where you find the mecca of developers and programmers and people in this space. But about 8 years ago, because we had a talent shortage already forming here in Kentucky, I built a training program that essentially took intelligence-driven people, taught them a skill set, be it Python, Java, data science, cyber, COBOL, project management, whatever it is we needed or our clients needed. And I used that to scale up our workforce because I couldn't hire fast enough. So in doing so, we found out that not only can we do that for ourselves, but we wound up doing it for communities and companies. So you look at our workforce, we're recruiting, training, and deploying in some of the most underserved neighborhoods in the country, be it Southside Chicago, West Atlanta, West Louisville, Cleveland, Dallas. We've done a tremendous amount of work where when we create a skill set for somebody, it changes not only their life, their family's life, and their community's life. So we call it a win-win-win-win. Corporations win because they suffer the same talent shortage we do, but we're helping them fill that gap with quality people that, frankly, are super grateful, super driven, and super good at their jobs. And so a lot of times people mistake us for a nonprofit, but we're not. We're a for-profit company where the market is telling us your product is really, really good and we want to buy more of it. So that to me is the most validating thing. And when you talk about meaningful, it's not just meaningful to me because it helps me fulfill my entrepreneurial dream and vision. It's meaningful to me because I see the impact of that my work has on families and communities. Because I'll give you a great anecdote. One of our employees, I got a picture sent to me a couple months ago. GE Appliance is one of our customers, and we do a lot of mobile app development for them. And we saw a picture that somebody who we trained in the west part of Louisville, the kind of underserved area, took their whole family to Best Buy after church to show them the washing machine that they worked on the software for. And there's a picture of 40 people at a Best Buy huddled around a washing machine that a Best Buy employee took for them. It was pretty amazing. So that's just a simple anecdote of how I take for granted what we do, but that same person has done tremendous work that they're able to provide a livable wage and then some for their family, and they're embarking on a tech career that they couldn't otherwise have had if it wasn't for our team. So yeah, that's really special to me.
So this is a business that you started. I mean, just to step back, you're finding people who for some reason, for many different reasons, have been placed out of the workforce. Changes in the economy. You're serving parts of the country that have been maybe, one could say, left behind as the world has gotten, Silicon Valley and New York City and stuff like that. These are places that there's just not enough good employment. You're finding these people, you're training them up, and you're placing them with companies that need this talent. Now, when I met you, I think you were just doing it. We met, by the way, just context. We met in 2018 in Beirut, Lebanon,
of all places,
Endeavor conference where Ankur was putting himself forward to be named an Endeavor entrepreneur. And I remember just thinking what a cool idea it was, but it was you were a lot smaller and you were much more focused, as I recall, on Kentucky. You've now gone national. The world has changed a lot. I mean, the context is totally different. What have been the big things? Like, what have you chosen to focus on? What have been the key areas for you to focus on in order to scale this business?
Yeah, great question. So we started this with two disciplines, mobile app Java and maybe, UI UX. It was very, very limited in what we trained for. Now, because of this, because we were doing that so well, our partners and our clients, and we work with a lot of Fortune 500s that basically have said, hey, you've done this really well. Can you do project management well for us? We have a shortage there. Hey, by the way, can you do mainframe and COBOL and things like that? They're the most of the growth, most of the areas of growth have come from the demand from our customers. But it's really great when they say, you've done this really well. Can you do that too? And typically our team says, sure, after some research. But now we've trained in over 70 plus disciplines for clients ranging from Humana to CVS Health to GE Appliance to a number of different needs in different industries, right? So that's where the growth has been. There's a shortage in almost all facets of the tech sector, and it's sort of good that we remain nimble in terms of what we said. We're even doing some things outside of the tech bubble, if you will, but every job requires some sort of technical acumen to do. So we're teaching, while we may not be teaching, I'll give you an example of diesel mechanic. We may be teaching you how to take apart a diesel engine, but we are teaching how to use an iPad to diagnose and triage and to create tickets and to basically learn how to synthesize that data and and formulate an opinion on whether or not that sort of device needs to be serviced or not. So there's a lot of sort of tool building we're doing for companies that you may not have thought were traditionally needed for tech, but training people in that sort of space is something we've found we're really good at. And if I can take one step back about what our secret sauce is, I think what we do better, because there's a lot of efforts. I mentor a lot of companies. I think it's great. There's no shortage of great companies who are doing something similar to what we are. But what made us unique and made us really good is that we didn't come from the education side. We're not an ed tech company. We're not a training company even. We outsource all that. We're an IT services firm at the heart of what we do. So we know what it takes to work at enterprise level. We know what it takes to work on a dev team. We know you got to know a certain amount and you got to have a certain mindset to not hold teams back and to make sure you can, pull your weight. So we look through all our people at that lens. Can you work on an enterprise team? And then we reverse engineer that into, okay, what do you need to know? What's the tech stack? What are the skill sets needed? How do you need to be, how do you need to be a good teammate on this sort of team? Then we build that curriculum out right there in the middle. And then you got to find the right person who can fit that sort of mold that we've set. And that's where I think we've done really well. Assessing is something we've done really well. If you're not good at foundational math, you're not going to be a good data scientist. So let's just not go that route. Let's just look at something else. Maybe you're more creative and you're better suited for UI, UX. That's an example of something our team does regularly, So kind of like think about the best guidance counselor we should have had 25 years ago, and that's our assessment team. And then when you put them into the right training, you're learning what you need to know at this company and their tech stack that they're going to need for decades to come. And then you're making sure that they have and you're building the mindset of a good career pathway. I'll share one of my clients. one of my clients came to me and they did an assessment because they didn't believe how high quality we were delivering at. And so they wanted to know a little more. And they basically had a team look at us and review us. And they said, Interapt's people are better at 9 months than people who've been here 2 to 3 years. And the reason for that is because we were very intentional about what we train, who we pick to take the training, and how we work on that team. So that I'll take that as a testament to our team finding the right people, training the right way, and deploying them the right way. So that's our secret sauce.
FOMO. So one of the things that I think about when it comes to this is like you did kind of, you said, you're an IT services training company, right? And staffing company. But
we get lumped into that category often. We're a little bit, we're kind of a bit of a unique unicorn-ish type of a place, not either outsourcing, not specifically staffing.
Exactly my point. My point here is that the story is complicated, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And people like simplicity. People want to put you in a box.
Yeah.
I've seen this like in my life. It's like me, like I am nobody puts baby in the corner. Nobody puts Patrick in a box, but nobody understands me. Like except for me basically. And like explaining who the heck I am takes half my day. Mm-hmm. And I think that happens a lot of times with people like you who are doing something de novo with a different spin. And when you go talk to clients or you talk to potential investors or you talk to whomever, especially in those early years, probably everybody has an opinion and they'll tell you why it's not going to work. And, having a complex story, like people don't like nuance anymore. You know what I mean? They just want to fit you in. I'm curious, like how that has impacted the way you run this business. Did you have a lot of sort of people that kind of dismissed you in the early days? And like, how did you factor that into the way you talk about your company?
Yeah, great loaded question. There's a lot of experience there that we've learned along the way. Initially in the early days, it was a this sounds too good to be true problem, right? So not just a too good to be true for enterprise customers that said, I don't believe you can do that, but also on the person side, like on the training side, I had to beg people to trust me and enter my program because they're like, wait a minute, you're telling me you're going to pay me to learn something for free and you're not going to make me sign a contract, you're not going to make me do anything, you just want me to learn? I'm like, yes, that's all I want you to do. I mean, literally that's part of our secret sauce. We don't encumber it. We don't have any income share agreements. We don't do any of that.
Paying, by the way, just who's paying for that? Just explain to people how it works.
So I'm paying for that. We do have, so initially I'm paying for that. I factor that in my cost. And like you said, people want to put you in a box. And so you've got to kind of play in that space. So for example, people sometimes when I explain what we do, a lot of your listeners might be thinking, oh, they sound like a staffing company. No, we're not. Staffing companies don't de-risk hires for you. They basically will put a person in your company, say, good luck to you. I hope it works out. If it doesn't, I'll call me again. I'll replace them when they quit, and you're going to pay me again. That's the generic staffing model. On the outsourcing side, they're like, oh, you want to hire me to do a job, and oh, by the way, you can't poach my people because that's my asset. I don't want to lose that to you. So people will think, oh, but we some of our clients want to convert the talent. We let them do that. Great, I'll make more. Some people like us as a managed service provider. They like to hold us accountable, so they don't convert. They just keep giving us more work. Great, we can do that too. But on the staffing side, where we're not a staffing company, it was hard in the early days because there's so many staffing companies out there. When you sound like one, they lump you in that box. They're like, I've got 15 companies that are doing this. I don't need you.
I don't need another. Thank you very much.
Exactly. That was a early stage hurdle where we kind of said, no, we're not that, because we de-risk this for you. We're now a custom talent solution. We call it the Interapt Talent Solution, the Interapt Talent System. We've named it, and essentially it's a system that we help kind of insert into your organization to really come in, be very consultative to the business. Say, okay, I know what your tech stack is. I know what your need. I know where your shortages are. I know your roadmap that you're going to be, investing a lot of time and effort into building these sort of products or solutions, and we can provide the talent that can help you with that. So we then take that back, reverse engineer it into the curriculum, and find the right person with the right mindset. On the assessment side, that's something that we're very proud of, that we have over a 97% success rate. I mean, that's over 3,000 people have gone through our program, and that's kind of unheard of as well. So trying to convince companies that, hey, we've got a good system that works really, really well was a little bit hard in the early stages, like I mentioned. But then the questions became, okay, can you scale this? Sure. Give me a number that you need. And so somebody will say, I need 50 data analysts, or I need 50 Java programmers. I usually hire 500. I'm going to carve out 100 and give them to you. Great. We'll build that talent, and you go and recruit and employ 400 instead of 500, that kind of thing. So that was the second question, and we were able to prove that with a number of customers. So now they're like, this is great. Now, then it became, we had to start integrating ourselves into companies' HR forecasts, because like I said, a lot of times they don't know how much the economy shifts. Hiring people the attrition may not be as high next year as this year, that sort of thing. So it's a bit of an art and a deep partnership that we do with folks, where we are like, hey, let us know what you need. We know how to get that for you and build it in a scarce market. Talent is scarce. You can't find, 100 of something that is a perfect fit. You'll have attrition. You'll have disappointed people where it's not a fit. All that occurs. We help try and remove all that uncertainty from the get-go, and that's kind of how we've been able to really differentiate ourselves and say, we're not staffing, we're not outsourcing. We are a system that helps solve your talent problem that you can sidecar to your HR department and run with it, or your IT department rather, and run with it.
So I guess what you're saying is that you had to come up with an elegant way to explain yourself in a branded way, which is creating the system. Mm-hmm. And then you had to find people who the pain was high enough for them that they were willing to take a chance on something different.
Correct.
Is that right?
Very much so. And I think that also what's interesting is that because IT has moved to the front of the business now, technology has moved to the front of the business. It used to be just viewed as a support function, right? So any good CIO won't let procurement determine who they want to work with, right? And I mean, they want to bring their trusted partners, their team. So we also had to kind of change from like being kind of going in the procurement door or the HR door. We had to convince IT departments that what we had was really good. And that was where the pain was being felt the most. Yeah, HR suffer, they don't like attrition numbers. They don't like, long days to hire and things like that. But the IT departments were where the pain was the greatest. And that's where we stopped looking at these other areas as our entry point into new customers, and went straight to IT leadership. And that's where they said, we like this, make it happen.
Yeah, the lesson there, which is a good one. I mean, I think and I've seen this in my own life where I've effed up and then fixed things, hopefully, is like have an elegant way of explaining it and then find the actual right person. Like if you end up in the wrong part of the company trying to sell something, they'll take that meeting because, you probably have a connection and you get in there and they're like, well, it's interesting to know, but then you just get shuttled into the pile of paper on the desk and nothing ever moves. FOMO. Ankur, I want to talk a little bit before we go to our lightning round about AI. Have you heard about this AI thing?
It's crossed my desk a few times. I just kind of ignored it. No, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
So one thing that occurs to me is that many of the things that you're training people for and staffing for are at risk of being deeply affected by AI. And therefore you have this kind of, existential kind of thing on the horizon that's probably happening right now. And even if it isn't, the perception is probably, if I think that it's the case, then probably a lot of people do. And so it does create some noise and swirl for you. Like how are you thinking about this and how are you responding to this?
Yeah, no, happy to. Yeah, and we view AI as a new tool. I mean, yes, it'll replace mundane, repetitive tasks. Absolutely, that as it should. but there's definitely still going to be, it's going to be a tool that helps save time, is more efficient, and it will require the programmer, the data analyst, whoever it may be, to change sort of their day-to-day job tasking, right? They'll be able to do more in less time. We see it in the short run. It's going to be a tool that really helps folks do their job. Yes, some jobs will be eliminated by this tool, but those are like that's going to go slowly from the ground up. I mean, it still has bias, still has errors, it still is not perfect. It will get there, absolutely, but training our folks to be resilient. And one of the things we do in our training program is like you're going to be learning for the rest of your life. I mean, in this space, like we do carve out time. We've added AI, prompt engineering, all that stuff into our curriculum, into all of them. In fact, it doesn't matter what we teach. It's just you're going to learn this as part of your skill set and your tool set. That's how we're seeing. We know AIs will move slow with this. I mean, they're not going to replace hundreds and thousands of IT workers overnight. I mean, it'll be systematic. It'll be this area is as a lower hanging fruit. This area is a higher hanging fruit. That sort of thing. But we think it's just going to be another area for us to train into as well as utilize as a tool. And if your job gets eliminated, there's going to be another thing we can upskill you for. And that's something this sort of lateral training. If you're let's say your contact center job is eliminated because password resets are now done by AI, which absolutely should be done. We'll then teach you something else that is in demand, that is not going to be as susceptible to that as well. So that's that constant learning, that constant what's the next thing. There'll be a next thing after AI, and we're going to be ready for that. And kind of, that's kind of our mindset that we put in all our people.
It's a really good point, and I hadn't thought about it this way, which is that, I mean, think about it this way. See if you buy this.
Sure thing.
I think that we have a little bubble here. I really do. I mean, I think there is a long-term trend towards AI for sure, but the amount of money and energy and just, mind share that it's taking up is a little crazy. But even if you believe it 100% as it's written, the average company isn't doing any of the stuff you're doing. They're not upskilling their employees. They're not teaching them all the things you're teaching them. So like, you're actually like, your folks are going to be way more ready to respond to the challenge than the people who are sitting in the big companies today.
We think so. I mean, in fact, funny you say that. Because our program worked so well inside of one of our clients, they asked us if we would train their existing employees the way we trained our folks. And the reaction after that class was people said a lot of this was, sort of, I knew this, or I a little bit elementary, some areas, but there were some that were new and they're glad they did it. And but the 100% reaction of the folks were like, I wish I did this before I started working here, because I would have been much better prepared to do this job, which I think people neglect. That's where the customized training on the exact stack helps, right? I mean, you don't take a 3-month training class before you start your job. You get in your job and you figure it out, right? That's typically the way that most companies do it, with minimal training, right? So that's, you're absolutely right. We're seeing a lot of folks. We've seen people laid off from the companies we're partners with, and then they come to us and they say, hey, can we join a cohort and update our skill set? We have opportunities like that.
All right. It's interesting, this. Very interesting. Now, let us move on to the lightning round. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, number 1. What's a favorite quote?
It's better to die on your feet than to live on your knees.
I have never heard that before. Where's that from?
Well, I took it from a Midnight Oil song, but I did Google it. It is I believe a Mexican freedom fighter, or it's a very old sage quote from that time. I can't place the
Midnight Oil is that's
Midnight. We'll go with Midnight Oil.
All right, I like that. That's good. That's a deep cut. All right, number 2, favorite use case for ChatGPT.
Favorite use case. I will add on it's AI. I'll add AI as well. So I've just been playing with my meta prompt, and you can now do face. You can now put your own face on stuff. So when I'm texting with friends, and joking environment or whatever, I will create an image of myself. For example, one of my friends said, I expect you to be, he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm working, I'm finishing up a presentation or something. He goes, oh, I expected you to be, sitting in a mahogany room with a single malt and this and that. And so I literally I said, please create a meme of me toasting by a fireplace in a mahogany room. And it generated this sort of most interesting man in the world picture of me, which was pretty cool. And so I've been sending that a lot lately. So that's been fun.
That asking that question felt like ChatGPT because I gave you a prompt and you hallucinated an answer to something else. So that's why you need upskilling.
There you go. If you want, I do boring stuff like, favorite use case I've used, presentations with my daughter. So her school,
man, that's all I was asking for.
Okay, there we go. She's learning. We did a presentation on Diwali at her school, and we did it together through ChatGPT.
That's Festival of Lights. All right, number 3, piece of advice you give to your younger self.
Oh, this is a loaded one.
Don't do it.
No, it's not that. I mean,
I'm teasing.
I'm not. It's not that doesn't cut that deep. I would tell my younger self, stay resilient, stay the course, because none of this matters right now. Like what I worried about in my younger self is now in hindsight trivial, and something that was so important and so debilitating, if you will, that would weigh on your mind. It doesn't matter. And that perspective is something I am truly enjoying in my older years, for sure.
Final one. What is your most important memory besides staying up all night with me in Beirut?
My most important one. There's pivotal moments in my life where I made a decision. I'm really glad, and it changed my course, and I know it did. One of them you mentioned earlier was attending the University of Illinois. I think that was a good one because it was only 4 hours away from where I grew up in a small town in Kentucky, and most folks were going 4 hours east to University of Kentucky, University of, or a school in Kentucky somewhere. Whereas I went 4 hours north. And what I learned there from the University of Illinois is a truly, truly global campus. I met people from all over the world. I got exposed to things I never would have gotten exposed to if I stayed here in Kentucky. That I still remember the decision. I said, am I going? I had a scholarship in multiple places. I played tennis and stuff. So that was also weighing in on whether or not where I selected. And I said, okay, I'm going to go play and go study at the University of Illinois because I just enjoyed my time there. And I had one or two people I knew there. So that decision of going north versus east was tremendously pivotal. I don't think I would have landed in Chicago where I did, got the entrepreneur chops the way I did, and really got the world and global experience I did if I didn't do that.
That's a great one. And it is so important to take those kind of bets. All right, my friend, this has been very interesting. Looking forward to seeing more. If you want to learn more about Interapt and Ankur, you can find Interapt at Interapt, that's APT at the end there, .com. You can find Ankur Gopal on LinkedIn. Ankur Gopal, CEO and founder of Interapt. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Great to see you, Patrick.
FOMO Sapiens is recorded in New York City and can be found on YouTube at FOMO Sapiens or on your favorite podcast network. Theme music is by Mike McGinnis, editing and post-production is by Josh Elstro, and the show is produced by Matt Curtis and me. If you like today's show, please be sure to rate it and share it with your friends. And as always, you can find more about the show and me at FOMOSapiens.com and PatrickMcGinnis.com.